I'm Mark Patton. I've been a bit of part of the organising of the visit, and I feel really blessed that we've all turned up, and that Ueli's turned up from all the way over there. It's wonderful, and it's kind of all about community. That's what it feels like to me. It's about building community. That's what we've been doing. Well, lots of people have been doing for a long time, and if I may just read out a quote from Rudolf Steiner. Yep, I'm very prepared. The healthy social life is found when in the mirror of each human soul, the whole community find its reflection. And when in the community, the virtue of each one is living. That was from 1920. I'll read that again, please. The healthy social life is found when in the mirror of each human soul, the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the community, the virtue of each one is living. That's beautiful. But without further ado, what I would like to do is get off the stage and introduce Ueli Hurter, and I'm astoundingly proud to be doing that. Very pleased, and wish you all well in your tour of Australia. We've got him on a whistle-stop tour, going here, there, and everywhere, and destined to meet a wide variety of people. I think, regardless, within the Anthroposophical Society, there's a whole lot of interesting people, and then within the biodynamic community, there's another whole lot of interesting people, and you're going to have to be incredibly diplomatic to weed your way through the personalities. But we've chosen you as the man for the job. So all the very best.
Yeah, good morning. It's just a few hours that I arrived for the first time in Australia, coming over from New Zealand. So jet lag is more or less behind. But yeah, Australia is new. And when I give a talk now, it can't be for Australian conditions. I'm new, I don't know anything. So my base for to give on the title of challenges facing agriculture and what can biodynamics contribute is more on a, let's say, general, universal level. And when we ask ourselves, okay, the challenges which are facing agriculture, how can we kind of grasp them? And in the sense of what I just said, I go with a wider perspective and saying that we have three of categories of challenges, I would say, and only the first one is the ecological one, how we deal with the earth. This is the one we know. We have since decades a kind of situation where, let's say, the earthly resources, we are depleting them. They go down. In some way, we are in a way of distraction of our earth, now ecologically spoken, and agriculture at large is part of the problem and not part of the solution. I think this is known, and we will try to look what biodynamics can help in this situation. A second, I would say, category of challenges are the social ones. People are more and more in cities, in the mega cities. We have more than half of the world population which is living in megacities, and this became more and more crowded, and the landscape and the land became empty. People leave the villages, the farms, because they can't see the future for themselves there. So the social life in the countryside is drying out. This is the second thing. How can we kind of create conditions that one has not to leave the farm, the village, in order to feel capable to live a life which is meaningful? And the third of the categories is more the overall cultural, or one can even say spiritual dimension, because farming today is meaningless. As many of the occupations and the activities we do are in a kind of, let's say, on a certain level, they don't provide the kind of satisfaction for more than, let's say, having living out of it. And with agriculture, this relation between the work you do and the money you got out is a catastrophe. Yeah? It's really not good. And if the only reason to engage and to work for many is to have money at the end, so we have there another problem. Agriculture, which has been buried, I would say, in a kind of overall cultural wisdom, is more and more a kind of just practical activity, and it doesn't make so much sense to drive your tractor from the morning to the evening and the next day again. So I would say that the challenges agriculture is facing are more or less the same we are facing as a general society. How can we deal with our earth? How can we deal among us? And how can we deal, let's say, to have a real perspective for our life, to have a new cultural ground? And this perhaps as a first introduction. And I would say, in a second step, that we are on a kind of crossroad where we have to choose. This has also been examined by a World Report on Agriculture, and I will just now bring my very general version, and it's also, I would say, based on the anthroposophical view of the evolution, of the cultural evolution, but now looked to agriculture. We have been, as humanity, when we go back to the ancient cultures, very much, let's say, in touch with the beings around, which nowadays we name nature. This kind of nature, which we see, which we touch today, has been much more a kind of cosmos of beings. One can also say gods. And thereout, what we name today agriculture, has been a kind of being with them together in order that they allow that what I do brings the food I need. You have many, many examples like this. And then this relation became less and less, let's say, direct, more and more indirect, and throughout steps. And the very important one has been already in the ancient Persian times, where agriculture, as we know it today, has been, let's say, invented by the Zarathustrian impulse to say we stop our way to move and to be hunters and gatherers, and to always look where the beings are pulling and pushing us, and we take a stay, and here is the place we remain. And this is the settlement. This is the start of agriculture. And when I do this, all of a sudden I have the possibility, but also the need, now to go in another relation with the soils, with the plants and the animals. And what happened as one of the very first effects is that the wolf became the dog. The wolf became the dog. And the grass became the wheat. And not just became out of struggling and of doing experiments, this has really been a kind of new, let's say, spiritual impulse to relate in a new way as humans with the earth and the conditions. So cultivation of nature has started. And what happened also is that all of a sudden the soil has been broken up. Yeah? The plow has been invented. And all this goes on until, let's say, the start of the ancient Egyptian culture, where the possibility to breed or to cultivate new animals and plants has been stopped to a certain extent. And what happened then has been that it became possible to deal with what is dead. The towns, the cities has been invented. People worked with stones and invited the writing. Yeah, this has been the next step. Now it has not been cultivating what is living, but work with what is death. A very new step, a very new consciousness. And then came the Greek time, and in the Greek time has been Golgotha, the venue of Christ. And then it went to the 15th century with Christianism, and then started the modern times. And there at New, we have this kind of step where all of a sudden people like Galilei, they look to the stars and they don't see any more heavenly beings, but lights. And they calculate the lights. And they came about that we are in a kind of cosmic mechanical situation. And all what came then about, with Newton and the natural science and this discovery, which is absolutely great. But now we have to look how we can deal with this in a proper way. So what I said is that we came down in this way, I would say, and here is 1924. This is the agricultural course. I take it out of the big now, of the overall situation. Something had to happen in a moment because the crossroad means that we can go to a certain extent, we can go further down. We can do more, let's say, technocratical agriculture. We can do more technocratical whatever. It's easy for us. And when we have challenges, as for example, how to have less CO2 in the atmosphere, all of a sudden the machine is already there. Huh? And so on. So it's always what one of our first ideas is, how can we repair the broken machine Earth? With a machine, of course. And what also could be seen as a solution is to say, we return back. Okay? Let's avoid this kind of mechanical, of materialistic way to see the earth, the life, and ourselves, and let's go back to the Asian cultures. This is a strong trend today. Yeah? And what is proposed is the middle way, I would say. This is, one can see the biodynamic impulse as going up again the U. Not going back, not going further down, but going up again. And what does this mean practically? Yeah? How can we relate to, let's say, the life on this earth, the soul life on this earth, the spiritual life, in a way that we are not just going back to a kind of romantic situation, the full moon will tell us what to do and so on, and not going further down and saying, okay, GMO is needed because we have climate change and we need other plants. You see this situation. And yeah, I will propose now to show perhaps a little bit what has been brought in 1924 by Steiner, what has developed since, and then also asking ourselves, yeah, biodynamics, how can we evolve it further on in the future? Is the situation clear until now? Okay. And when we produce food, and this is what we do as farmers, our job is to produce food, because in societies as in Australia and others, the percentage of people who are active in agriculture goes down to 1, 2, 3%. I'm not sure how it is here. In Switzerland, we are 1% of the people are active in agriculture. So each one has to provide food for 100 others. Quite a job. And now is the question, by doing this, I deplete my surrounding. By doing agriculture, I harm nature. I take more than the earth can provide. This is what we know from modern agriculture, that she provides the food we need, and we need even more in the future because we will need more people probably on the earth. But it's not balanced with the resources. The resources are stressed, they are lowered, they are exploited. And the resources for agriculture is soil and climate, is plant and biodiversity, and is the animals, also with biodiversity. Yeah. So we live on a boat which is, okay, will not go around the next century in some way. We do not in a good way. And I say it now, and can we imagine that we do production, that we are not just dreamers, but that we really work the nature in a way that we have at the end something in our plates, and without we, let's say, exploited nature. Is this possible to sing? And I would say in a first attempt it's not possible. We have out of the mechanical thinking, when you take something, you have to replace it. Otherwise, the wholeness is not given anymore. And now case in, I would say, basic approach of biodynamics, that yes, we try to build up places where even we take out year after year, the potential of production is even there for the next years and even perhaps going up. That by working the soils in a way we do, they became not, let's say, erosion and going worse. No, they became, that the humus content is going up. And we have figures. We have scientific figures where we can show this. And the same with our plants, with and so on. So meaning, I'll just make another drawing, that normally what we have is agriculture is a business as each other, and we have inputs, we have fertilizer, chemicals, and seeds, GMO seeds. They go in the box, the fabric is working, and at the end of the year we have our output, we have our commodities, and they go on the world market. This is the business model of most of the farms also in Australia. And the manager of the farm has just the task to look at what he buys and what he sells, that he has here a kind of difference which makes his income. And when the soil is gone at the end of this year, and when the animals are exploited and so on, he has not to pay for it. And the other model is that we have I would say not a system. We have the term farm organism, which is interconnectedness of the beings in the farm in a way that production happens, and that this production can be sold. I can sell my milk, I can sell my cereals, I can sell my vegetables, I can sell whatever, and in the same time, this, what made it happen, can go on the next year. The wheel of life goes from 24 to 25 to 26. And this, if it's well done, and one has kind of good conditions and so on, as always in life, one needs also chance, then this life of wheel is not stopping, no, it has a new, let's say, dynamic power year after year. So what we are striving for is something which normally in a proper mechanical thinking is not possible, that we, in some way one could say, produce, and what we can sell what we produce, what goes from the farm organism to the people, to the cities, to the social organism, that there is more or less not an input from the industry, so, fertilizers, chemicals, and so on needed, but that we can shape our work on the farm in a way that, it develops in a way that this happens. And this I will try to show now. One can understand the agricultural course from Rudolf Steiner in this sense. Huh? But I say it again, it's economically spoken a kind of revolution that by producing you don't, let's say, you are not okay, not so easy in English. Yeah, normally when you have a machine, you have a tractor, and you work with it, after 20 years it has to be depleted, in order that you can buy a new one, because by doing work, the tractor is the end, is done. Huh? And when we do this with the soils, then we have the problem we have. So we have to find a system where, by working, by producing, our basics, our basic resources, they improve. And this is something which normally is not possible to think and to calculate with. So, as a base, we have the soil. And we have above the soil and underneath the soil two completely different realities. We have light, we have warmth, we have the air, and underneath we have earth, and the moisture, the water. And this is separated to a certain extent. And when we now work the soil as this horizontal line, what we are striving for is to create a layer where the two of these qualities, they interpenetrate. The skin of the earth as the fertile soil means that light and air and warmth is in the soil and is in the earth, and that the earth is in this way enlightened and full of air. And then what happens is that this soil is not just alive, it became a breathing organ. This is a term from Rudolf Steiner, from the second lecture of his course, to address the soil as an organ of the earth and as a breathing organ, and he compares this to our diaphragm. And you know your diaphragm when you are singer, it does its work even when you don't think about, but you can train it. It's a muscle here in between, and in this way to say that the earth is not just, let's say, a substance which contains the nutrients, but is a breathing organ of the earth. You see the dimension which opens. And then came the plants. And the plants, they have this other direction. They are vertical. They are not horizontal, they are vertical. And when you try to think, but where does it heading to, this vertical plant? Where is the end? It's the sun. And where is the end of the roots? It's the center of the earth. So you have with the plants that you can just see them as you see them. But when you go into this dimension, you can feel that here now, with the horizontal dimension of the soil, you have a kind of line which is drawn from the center of the earth to the sun. And this radiates out on each place, here in Australia and in Switzerland, where I come from. So it radiates around the earth. So the earth has a kind of cape, this green layer of plants, and they are the sign that we are in contact, constant contact and relation with the cosmos, represented by the sun. The sun has other planets, has the zodiac and so on. So the plants are the ones who relay the earth, the dense earth, and the cosmos. And then came the next step, and we introduce the cow, and the cow makes manure, and we have the phenomena that the cows, can you see the cow? Sorry, it's a Swiss cow. But she has her horns, okay? This is important. And either there are Swiss cows or other cows, they are ruminants. And ruminants mean they can eat grass. We never could. Okay? So they are highly specialized in digestion. Each animal has a high, let's say, specialized faculty. This is the kingdom of animals. All of the animals, each one is specialized in something. And when we look to us, we are not at all specialized. We are the universalists. Huh? We can all, but just a little bit compared to the animals. Huh? And the kingdom of animals, which has been brought to existence by evolution, is the base for the embodiment of the human soul and spirit, and in this way that we can live as individuals on the earth. Huh? So this is our relation with the animals. They are our sister and brothers, and they sacrificed to a certain extent towards this specialization, and they are great in this, and this gave the base that we then can have our threefold body, which enables us to try to be humans. Yeah? Not always easy. So, here we have the cow, and can be other animals, chickens of course. The chicken, yeah, the biodynamic chicken. Why not? And now they eat, let's say, they are eaters. they do nothing than take in the grass and then digest it. And I guess you have already seen when they are ruminating. It's a kind of, one could say, meditative work, but metabolic one. And when this came out, okay, there is the milk and the meat, but when it came out here, the dung, then it is highly, let's say, worked through by the being of these cows, of these animals. It's the same substance, materialistically spoken, as the grass here, comes out here. But if you think, not materialistically, but if you think in this way spiritual, it belongs now, it is completely worked through by the being of this cow or another animal. And this, in this way, now brings a new quality to this substance, and we can take the dung and we make a compost type, and then we can close our circle. Because this, what has been grass, goes into the cow, makes a complete transformation, goes in the compost pile, makes a complete transformation, goes in the soil, makes a complete transformation, and is again here taken up in the next year, being plant substance. And with this, with the integration of animals, and I speak always in a principle way now, If you don't have animals, we would have to look how we can make the same without animals. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. But I speak now a little bit based on what Steiner brought in the agricultural course, and he really emphasized to integrate the animals. And integration of the animals is one of the key points of biodynamics, which is different in organics. And the reason is this, that we, with this, come from the earth to life, and we came to soul level, and with this we can make this wheel go. We need to bring our substance, we close the circle, we say no inputs from outside, because the more and more this interconnectedness between the different beings can be worked out in the farm, the more it becomes resilient, it becomes a kind of, let's say, strong in itself character, and the more and more it becomes a partner for the farmer. I can really rely on my farm when after 7 or 14 years this has been done. And now we have to do a step. I go on until 12, a little bit more. Yeah. We have to do a step, and this step is that we introduce now the preparations, the biodynamic preparations. And they are bringing together flowers, mainly from the plant kingdom, sheets from the animal kingdom, and we work with the soil in its seasonal qualities. So we create out of the three kingdoms we already know, which has been worked with throughout 10,000, 12,000 years of agriculture. We take a new step and we say now we have to create more or less a new kingdom where they interpenetrate in a more, let's say, very dense way. And perhaps you know how they are made. I take one example, it's yarrow, which is not a crop. Yarrow is a plant you can have on your farm. It's a very interesting plant. It's more a medical plant, and it has this kind of very specific way to be shaped, to have a color, to have the smell, where when you go in this phenomenology, you can see that there is a combination between sulfur and kalium. The plant is, in this way, masters the opposition between sulfur, which is kind of substance of light, and kalium, which is kind of substance. Potassium, which is kind of representative of the substances very, very early. So yarrow is mastering this polarity, and then we take the flowers, and now we look for a sheet which we can bring these flowers in, and with this make that this process can become stable. And we take the bladder of a deer, a male deer, which has its antlers. Yeah. And with this, one can see that this deer is kind of opposite to the cow, which eats and is meditating by ruminating and not at all looking to the nice people coming to the farm or something like that. It's really inward culture. And the deer, when he is on the border of his forest, he is sensing all what happens around. He's always kind of nervous. He's related to all. And this nervosity, where he relates with his 100 hectares of habitat, the secretion is in his bladder. And we take this, and so we have the right combination, and we make our flowers in this organ. We hang them out in summer on the sunlight, and in winter time we dig them in the earth. And when we take them out, and you can see it outside, it's more or less transformed, and we have a preparation where now we can, let's say, dynamize the potassium and the sulfur processes in our farm. So it's not input with tons, it's a kind of enabling the farm now to become, let's say, capable with new faculties. It's education. The new step of cultivation nature is education. And the preparations in this way, when they are made, then we do that in the compost type, and with the compost which goes to the whole surface, they are present. This faculty then, after several years, is present on the whole farm. And we make the step from the farm organism, which is close, to what it's called the farm individuality, which is open again. So to close the circle is not a name as such. If you have here again the same circle indicating the farm organism, it is now, when we work with the preparation, it opens up, you see, it's the sphere where two spheres, let's say, they cross, and from the sun again to the earth, in this way, we create a new space, a new quality of encounter. And with this, now we can, even more than before, be sure and work in a way that life is going on. So much of this production goes out, is eaten by people, and it has not to be replaced as substance, but what is meant with the preparations is a kind of education of this agricultural situation in order that future is possible. Okay, and this is not the end. In my view, and this is perhaps less directly indicated in the agricultural course, we have not only the situation, I would say, on the farm, we have also an influence in the surroundings of the farm. So this we have already had. I take again this as a picture for the farm, and we have the food going out, and we provide healthy food for the others who have not the chance to be farmers. And a second quality, I would say, which can be provided is, I make it perhaps like this, that we have positive impacts, for example, for climate. This we can show that when we do it in a proper way, we can create places where we have a positive climate relation. And we have a positive influence of biodiversity. We can have a positive influence of the watershed, of the groundwater, of the flowing water, of the quality of water. I mean, what makes nature as a whole, we are not pumping in the farm. No, we can give a positive influence. And the technical term for this is that we provide ecosystem services. Probably you have heard about it. And these ecosystem services, actually we give them for free. And when we can make them, let's say, measurable, and we can make them in this way also monetarized, we can create with this a second income stream for the farmers. Because we provide common goods while we work biodynamically. And we have, for example, in Switzerland, this is already the case, that we, the Swiss farmers, we are paid for ecosystem services. And this will come in the EU too, and I think it's absolutely something which came from the future, because behind is what is called true cost accounting. When you do chemical farming, you don't pay for the damage you do in nature. And when you do true cost and you give a price to the climate, to the water, to the soil you deplete, then the conventional product at the end is not cheaper than the biodynamic one. This is incoming. We will see how many time it takes. And then I come perhaps to the next point, and it touches what I named by going in the first step, this social challenges, that often when we have a biodynamic farm, it's not only a farm, it's embedded in other and related with other activities. I have been in Hoepa, in Napier, in New Zealand. They have milk cows, they do vegetables, they work with handicapped people, and they are a kind of new type of community on the land, based on the activity with biodynamics. So biodynamics has the power, the potential power to be at the base, at the source of a new community building in this way. And this then is social service providing, and this is the answer, can be the answer of people leaving the land, leaving the countryside. You can not just farm. Just farming is not enough. We are more complex beings. And to create, based on the work with the land and the animals and the plants, a kind of new new society, to some extent, one can say, community. This is another thing which we can observe throughout the first 100 years of biodynamics, that it evolved like this. This is the community aspect, and we have also the economical aspect in the social question. And there also we are pioneering in a way of a new associative economy. And this means that when our products, they go out like this, the money stream comes back. Yeah? The source of the money is the need of the consumer. And normally, the farm is far away from the consumer. So the consumer goes in the shop and buys what is there, and somehow he thinks, I buy food from the farmer, but in between you have normally, typically, from the producer, you have a processor. Yeah, the milk goes to the one who makes cheese or butters the milk. Then you have the wholesaler who does distribution throughout the country. Then you have the retailer, and at the end you have the consumer. And this chain of added value is just not transparent. You don't know how many of the price you pay for your bottle of milk goes back to the farmer. It's hidden. And it's hidden who takes how much. And one can resolve this to a certain extent. Now one takes this line and one brings it in a circle, yeah? The same line, I make again a circle. I have the 5. I have the producer, I have the processor, I have the wholesale, the retailer, the consumer, and now they are sitting around the table, and the milk is still the bottle of milk, but each one sees the whole journey of this milk bottle. And he is not obliged, but he can, out of the common picture, say I take less or I take more. Yeah? So this is the round table as the basic, let's say, tool of associative economy, that each one is seen by the other ones and can see the other ones. Huh? And the worth Mark brought with the introduction, it's exactly this. Huh? I will bring it at the end. No, I bring it now. The health, that the healthy social life is found when in the mirror of each human soul or each actor in the social, in the economical life, the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the community the virtue of each one is living. This is the practical application of this very nice word. Yes. There are other challenges in the social reality. Perhaps we can go to them when we have the exchange with questions. And there is also what I named by starting this cultural challenge. How can we recreate, I would say, a kind of farmer's sovereignty and dignity that by farming I'm not in a deeper sense human. I'm just fulfilling what is needed. Yeah? How can we recreate a kind of dignity and of identity for the farmer so that each one of the young people here would become a farmer? And what's needed is not only that the income is better and that there is less bureaucratic work and so on, which is needed, but it's not the solution of the problem. Huh? The solution, to a certain extent, of the problem, I would try to name it a kind of an individual sovereignty. So I belong to the whole, I'm connected with nature, but in a way which is not, let's say, weakening my personal sovereignty. Because I think this is the main driver when people leave the farms and the villages and go to cities. There is a kind of culture, even it's a mass culture. Even you can end up in the slums, but you are seen to a certain extent as you and not as a part of your family and of your village and so on. You need nowadays this sovereignty as an inward orientation, but also as a possibility to really shape your life. And as far as we don't have, let's say, conditions on the farms, on the countryside life, that this can happen, people really continue to train in the cities. And this means that, I would say, the land I farm on belongs to me and not me to the ground. Yeah? We are in the delicate situation that when we relate to the soil, to the ground, to the nature, that it can be a little bit in the old way. And we became again driven by collective identities. We, the Australian, we, the Swiss, you know, and this goes then further on. That we are now a worldwide society, and this means that I don't belong to my land, but my land belongs to me. And I would conclude with a verse of Rudolf Steiner, where he indicates in a very wide view, in this way, what we, based on biodynamics, on anthroposophy in general, we could, should, let's say, bring to these challenges of our time, and these challenges as they are specifically in the agriculture. Our Mother Earth has hardened through pain. Our mission is to spiritualize her again by reworking her through the power of our hands into a spirit-filled work of art. I will read it again. We see the earth has hardened, and now we are with the earth, and the mission is in this way to work with our hands, but not to create an old, let's say, nature, but to create a new work of art. Our Mother Earth has hardened through pain. Our mission is to spiritualize her again by reworking her through the power of our hands into a spirit-filled work of art. Thank you for your attention.
In your diagram of coming down to 1924 and then the choice of going down and so forth, in the agricultural course, Steiner talks about the manuring that the farmers do, and that the 500 would be a supplement to that.
Yeah.
Is the fact that most people have stopped doing the manuring, and pretty much even on biodynamic farms that I know of, they only do the 500, they don't do manuring.
Yeah.
Is that an example of going down, and would the solution be to go back to manuring as well as doing the 500, or is manuring not needed?
Needed.
Is it not needed?
Not needed anymore.
Do we only need to do the 500?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the manuring stopped because the cows stopped, because it's too much labor and not enough income, and you are attached each day when you are milking the cows.
And we don't have them in barns here.
Yeah, yeah. So in this way, I would say it's just due to the social conditions, economic social conditions on the farms, and it's not going down, but it's in some way losing, I would say, a source of vital forces which can, I would say, a little be replaced by only doing 500, and here they developed the 500p, the Podolinsky people, and they swear on it that this is the best and enough and so on. I have been on a farm from them yesterday, but it's a vegetable farm and so on. So I would say, let's research, let's look for when the principle is not applied in a very proper way. We have not to be scared or to be in some way catastrophed. We have to look and to say, how can we do in these conditions? And as far as I farmed for 30 years, and I can't imagine actually to bring a farm forward without the cows, without the manure in our climates. So it can go on perhaps for 10 years, 15 years, but then you have really to examine, to make analysis if your forces are not going down. But what happened to the biodynamic movement in the last 20 years is that many winemakers, they joined the movement. And you know this should not have happened, because they don't have a farm organism. They are monoculture, and they do alcohol. But we didn't close the doors. We said, okay, fine that you are here. Try, and then they will taste your wine, and life is a little bit, let's say, less heavy than sometimes it is for farmers. And we integrated the wine people absolutely in the biodynamic movement, and it's a huge learning from the one to the other ones. And we learned that if you go, for example, for 2 weeks with sheep grazing under your plants, when the grapes have been harvested, it changes already huge. So the influence of the animals in the vineyards, and you don't have to have yourself sheep, you just have someone who brings them in for a certain time. Or you can do some of the work in the rows with a horse. And I know someone in Italy, and he had a vineyard, and he said, I already thought, shall I take the plants out? The wine was not at all something which has been satisfying. And then he brought in even cows. What are the young cows? Calves. Huh? And it changed. And now the wine is like high in price. So we have to discover, we have to research, we have to be open-minded, and at the end, perhaps, we as classical farmers, we say it's the dung, and one can see that even birds coming in, or chickens, or whatever, can have an effect because it's the soul life. Our plants, they need a kind of love, embracement from the soul life of the animals.
you know, one of the things that we've noticed is that there's a lot of native animals out there, like, you know, the kangaroos and the wombats that provide a lot of dung on your property and ruminate in similar ways.
Yeah.
There's also no hooved, you know, there's no traditionally hooved animals in Australia. It's always been very soft on the soil, no compaction. I'm just thinking whether there is a role for sort of flipping that Northern Hemisphere European coin and saying, well, could you modify that for more the local Australian situation?
Yeah, absolutely. The first stage is always from something that you make kind of spreading it out in a quite imperialistic way, I would say. And then you have to look in the very different conditions. How could this principle of the cows be, let's say, realized here? And then you have really to deepen your knowledge and your understanding of what we have. And for example, the trees. The tree, the building of the tree, the building of the wood is also an astral phenomenon. So I would say by working with trees and with agroforestry, for example, to a certain degree, I would say you can replace what is otherwise brought by the heavy animals. So let's be inventive. But this is up to you to bring ideas on the table, and the people who are in the tropics, because you can't have cows in the tropics, and so on. So we are on this stage after 100 years that we see biodynamics now. We have it all over, in all continents and in all types of climate. And we do bananas and coffee and tea and all kinds of crops. But now, I would say we came in a phase where we are, where we should adapt more closely to the very conditions in the very regions.
You have not mentioned the word microbes.
Yeah.
In Australian farming, the major business model really runs down or excludes the benefits of the microbes that are in the soil. My work shows that obviously BD and much of the work you're doing is really activating the microbial community that existed on this earth for a long, long time. Would you please comment?
Absolutely. Sorry that I didn't mention it. But when I speak about soil fertility, enlivening soil, breathing soil, when I speak about the verticality of the plant, meaning that we have the stream of the let's say, the sweet stream going down and the salty stream coming up. And when I speak about the dung of the cows and other animals, it's seen from another point of view. It's all about microbes. The microbes, they are in this way indicating that life and soul forces are present. And the recent research about the biomes is huge and helps a lot. And in this way really confirms our work. And it's very astonishing that even the microbe, the biome in our stomach is related to the formation of our brain. So healthy food even helps to pass the exams. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your lecture today. I'm really challenged by what you ended on, which is that the land I farm on belongs to me.
Yeah.
I see young people returning to land actually as almost a defiance against the materialistic I own everything. They want to belong to something of purpose and that will exist beyond their life. And so there's a tension between what you said and what I was considering.
Yeah. But this, I'm conscious that when I bring it like this, it creates this kind of reaction, because one feels isolated, and going back to land, I come back to Mother Earth. Yeah. And in this sense, this is right. But I spoke about a next step. One could say that I did this in this social reality, how to say, we are in danger that by relating to soil and to nature, we are going in this way a little bit back to what has been. And that we are not anymore, let's say, sovereign as individuals, but a part of a group. And this can be nice, if it's a nice group, but if it's a group which is, let's say, defined by either being Swiss or not Swiss, either being white or not white, you see, the problem comes that we are in the danger to create again, let's say, group identities which are not created after we have become individuals, but on a stage before. And this we witness actually in the world, that we are in a kind of tendency that one feels very identical by being, let's say, Muslim. And this means, let's be against the Jewish, and so on. So in this way, never something should go above the free will, the free potential, and the free responsibility of the individual.
Yes.
This is base of anthroposophy. And even belonging to an anthroposophic group should not take you away from individual responsibility. Was it understandable?
Yes.
But I know it's a little bit hurting a feeling, I know. Yeah.
I was just interested to hear a bit more about your ecosystem services in Europe.
Yeah.
In Australia, we're talking a lot now about carbon and measuring carbon and even biodiversity. I was just wondering what sort of thing, what measurements are happening over there.
So carbon is in becoming, and you know, our system actually in Switzerland is not so much based on that they measure what really happens on my farm, but scientific research has been done, and one has seen that when, for example, I don't I don't cut my meadows before a certain date. I give insects and birds the possibility to create the new.
Yeah.
So I have a program where I can apply to, and it means that before a certain date I don't cut, for example, this meadow.
Yeah.
This is an example. Huh?
Right.
And in this way, so it's measured before the program has been made,
Okay.
but then it's applied to, or for example, trees. So the real fruit trees, with a real stem. One knows actually that they are for biodiversity really crucial. And so I can apply to a program, and each of the trees I didn't take away because it's easier to pass with the machine, but they remain on my land. I become something per year. So it's in this direction.
Yeah.
This is very general, and now there are people, they are researching to go a step further with this, and then it becomes more complex, more round, and carbon sequestration is just one item, not the whole. Huh? And you can go on a webpage which is Economy of Love. These are Egyptian friends. They developed a system, and they introduce now small farmers to this system. And when they do, they can have out of the way they farm biodynamically, it's accepted. They capture CO2, or they are positive for the climate, and then they create CO2 certificates out of it, and they sell it to the Egyptian industry because they have to compensate according to Paris 15. This is another model, and this is in English, not only in Arabic but in English. Yeah. And they are evolving fast. Huh? They have now 2,000 of these farmers, and they are heading to 40,000. And they have a mission, they have a vision that whole Egypt will be biodynamic.
This might be too specialised, so just take it as you wish, but beekeeping in Australia is now challenged by the varroa, which we have not had in the past. We're yet to have this as a challenge here in Victoria, but can you say the sort of broad direction that the biodynamic thinking is going in working with or strengthening the bees in terms of the varroa mite?
Yes, so I'm not a beekeeper, I'm not a specialist, I know about this, and we don't have something directly against varroa, and here comes in what we do, what is our general, let's say, strategy when we have kind of diseases or health problems. Huh? It's what is called salutogenese. So not wait until the disease is present and then try to attack, but to create throughout the years a kind of resilience, a general resilience. And this has to do with the feeding of the bees. This has to do how you do with the swarming. It has to do with the la reine, with the queen. Sorry,
And when you open the heart.
you belong to the Commonwealth. Queen, of course. Sorry for me, I'm Swiss. And you have, two other, I would say, main influences. Huh? But it's a challenge, and we don't have a solution. We just see that if we can provide to these bees a kind of more or less healthy overall situation, sometimes they can overcome. And I guess here we are also in a type of situation where it depends on the human. I had an elderly biodynamic farmer in the French part of Switzerland where I live, and he has had up to 60 beehives, and they all, none of them died. And others, they lost all. Huh? And with the bees, the father of the bees, the beekeeper, this is known. Huh? And there we enter in another dimension even of biodynamics. Yeah? That it's also, this is a kind of reality. Yeah.
So what would you say then, like, when the varroa mite first was discovered here, the response of the government was to kill every bee that they could find within a certain, so even if you were one of those biodynamic farmers who had healthy bees, the government would just go, bad luck. Have you got any idea as to how one could present a different view or come up with a different response or protect your bees under make the, I don't know, something that's like there's like a recognition of resilience there somewhere, or because to me that just seems it's like impossible to fear.
Yeah, when the government in these situations they oblige to eradicate either the bees, either other beings, it becomes really difficult. And this will be more and more the case, because we will have more and more situations like this. The deregulation of the natural balances is ongoing. And actually, I don't know if you have heard what is the chicken flu, bird flu, now is in the diets. Imagine, could happen even in 2024 with the 100 years of biodynamics, that we will have a massive slaughtering of cows. It has already happened when we have had the mad cows back in 2000. And there has been a farm in Great Britain, and they would have been obliged to slaughter their cows. And it's also a place where they work with handicapped people, and they didn't give access from the government people to this, and they made strong, let's say, defense, and the cows survived. So sometimes, it's not possible in each situation, but sometimes, perhaps we will go in the future more and more also in this kind of situation. Corona has just been a test, let's say, a strong one, and we have seen in which way it's not easy to behave according to its own conviction and according to the societal situation one is in. So these really are huge, huge challenges, and they also belong to what we have to try to deal with.